75 dead and death toll rises as more aid pours in for disaster victims. Locals want clear explanation on the cause of earthquake. And Lay City manager Roy Kamen reinstated.
This is the National EMTV News with Meribah Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us for Tuesday's news. Village communities in the far-flung areas of Southern Highlands and Hela provinces have been gathering at makeshift care centres at schools and mission stations since the 7.5 magnitude quake struck last Monday. In Southern Highlands, at least 6 such centres have been set up by the communities. In Hela, up to 2,000 people have congregated at Huya village. There is a shortage of food and water. The death toll as of yesterday now stands at 75.
In Timu village, Komo Magarima district of the Hela province, the pain of losing loved ones is still raw 8 days on. The village is unrecognizable, replaced by a landslip triggered by last Monday's quake.
Tupla piginini wambla baby girl and drink susu yet. Narabla piginini boy blongam 5 year 5 bla Christmas blongam birthday opa finish blongam. Na mama blongam bla pani mol here. And behind long 3 bla days mi bla pani.
11 people died here, 4 were recovered, but a whole family of 7 is still buried under tons of rocks and other debris. The villagers armed with spades and bush knives are struggling with the thought that they may have to abandon the recovery effort and go on in life without at least finding the bodies.
Oli Sunny come up now. Oli pani mi come now. Check him. Check him come. Our planti kisim bagarap. Ausi bagarap. House put down.
While others affected by the quake count their costs in terms of damaged infrastructure and the loss of revenue, this is the human face of the tragedy. Sana Bongu, a grade 5 student at Magarima Primary School, lost his entire family, his mother, father, siblings and an uncle. Mekere Alo had sent his wife and child to live with her parents. They all died in the quake.
Misali Mary want them finish all campus them na. Comes to them all mama na power line blame there. And Mogota all been want them.
The job of confirming the deaths is being done by a small team of 3 doctors led by Dr. Tana Kiak from the Tari Hospital. Working with limited resources, Dr. Kiak and his team have been shuttling in between Tari and quake-stricken areas. With each visit, the death toll continues to rise steadily.
We issue death certificates. Also landslide bin karma bin molongem. So now we play itoksa along osem. By lugosum by bagat some the frequent chopa bakamin so mbla toksa along all can straight ma eliped lo backside.
At Huya village on the Hela western border, more than 2,000 people have gathered in what's now become a care center. Food is in short supply as people from the neighboring villages flock into the mission station after losing their homes and gardens.
This village is very close to the epicenter of the quake. It's where 12 people died. Now more than 2,000 people have gathered here in this makeshift care center. It's very difficult for them to go to the gardens because aftershocks are continuing and the rivers are polluted.
11 blood and 5 blood or Ayawood. Or 5 blood, 6 blood and Bobolewood. Now will it empower?
Yesterday, Governor Philip Undialu, Tari Pori MP, James Marape and Koroba's Patrick Thomas visited the area to talk to their constituents. The disaster has put people in remote areas in close contact with the political establishment in the province.
Team belum government go out, assessment team, me belum bayi got well or me belum help him.
The response from the national government has been sluggish. The first hint of assistance came from the Missionary Aviation Fellowship, which flew in supplies and evacuated a few injured people from the Huya Bosavi area. The Australian government has been ferrying supplies into Moro, then onwards to Tari and other centres. Yesterday, oil search teams delivered much-needed medicines to Tari Hospital. For now, it will take weeks before the full scale of this disaster is understood. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Tari.
22 victims from villages affected by the earthquake were airlifted by PNGDF helicopters at Kutubu, Southern Highlands Province. Two of the PNGDF's Bell 202 helicopters are helping to provide immediate medical evacuation emergencies. The helicopters made 2 evacuations out from the area with mostly teachers and sick villagers who needed immediate medical treatment. Member for Komo Magarima, Manasseh Makiba, is calling on the government to find the cause of the 7.5 magnitude earthquake. The epicenter of the earthquake is located in his district, and he says people are scared and traumatized by the earthquake and the aftershocks. Mr. Makiba says the people need to know the cause and an assurance that an earthquake of that size will not occur again, as many of them are refusing to sleep in their homes.
The U.S. Geological Service has reported that there have been 45 aftershocks since the 7.5 magnitude earthquake, with one aftershock at 6.2 magnitude. Member for Komo Magarima, Manasseh Makiba, says a cause must be established.
It was a shock to everyone. We never expected that, because we never experienced earthquake of such magnitude to be prepared and to be aware. So this is the question that when I visited the people was asking the cause of this earthquake.
40 people out of 66 confirmed dead are from Komo Magarima district. He says people are traumatized and are refusing to sleep in their homes as they fear being buried alive.
People feel afraid to live in houses. So while I was there, I spent 5 days after the earthquake in Hela. And you wouldn't believe this. We will keep on feeling the earthquake after the shock. There were more earthquakes. During the day, we experienced like 5 earthquakes.
Mr. Makiba says the government should establish a team of scientists to find the cause and provide an advance warning system in the future.
Send an independent assessment team comprising of scientists such as geologists and scientists that are expert in earthquakes, who must carefully go around the affected areas, and particularly the epicenter and the project areas, and establish the cause of the earthquake.
He also said the earthquake was a wake-up call for the government to equip the National Disaster Office.
Response was very slow. The response from the National Disaster Team was slow. I think it reached the disaster sites with relief and transportation like chopper. But for the future, to equip the National Disaster Office as well as the Provincial Disaster Office with the necessary funding, the logistical support that they need.
Adelaide Sirox Kari, National EMTV News.
The China-PNG Friendship Association presented a check of 1.3 million kina, including donations in kind towards the victims of the earthquake. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill says these donations will be delivered to the people in the remotest areas who are affected.
Today, the China-PNG Friendship Association presented a check of 1.3 million kina to assist the government in response to the earthquake disaster efforts in the highlands. Deputy Chief of Mission Yao Ming, on behalf of the community, sincerely extended their sympathy to the people of Southern Highlands and Hela Province.
We're saddened to see the great loss of life, the injured people, and also property damage caused by the devastating earthquake. And I think we all saw these touching stories and photos on TV, on newspaper. Sometimes we couldn't help our tears for the suffering of our fellow PNG brothers and sisters.
In just 2 days, a fundraising committee not only raised cash, but various Chinese business houses and concerned individuals throughout the country also donated in kind.
Has so far raised over 1.2 million in cash, clothing 19,500, food 41,000, medicine 100,000.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill says these donations will be delivered to the remotest parts of the affected areas.
The gift that you have given to us, quite a large donation. Again, that will go and will be delivered to the remotest communities right throughout the country. We are trying our best to make sure that we have less bureaucracy and less spending on just running around. We're trying to make sure that the money reaches the families and those who need it the most. So I can assure you that we will do everything possible to making sure that these funds reach the people that deserve it.
He also acknowledged the PNG-China friendship for their continued support and aid for such times as this.
It is certainly times like this that we understand the true meaning of friendship. That PNG and China have family, friends for almost over 200 years. We have seen in the past where valuable contributions have been used to manage the system and the processes rather than reaching the people that deserve the most. So that is why I can assure you that your support will be certainly put to good use.
Lilian Superakinea, National EMTV News.
6 emergency experts from the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs are travelling to PNG to assist the government in response to the earthquake disaster efforts in the highlands. This team will assist the PNG National Disaster Centre in assessments, response coordination, logistics and information management in the worst affected areas, especially in Hela and Southern Highlands provinces. The UN has already mobilized 4.6 million kina to support relief efforts. In addition, the supply is already dispatched to affected areas. Here with National EMTV News, we'll have more after these messages. Don't go away. Welcome back to the news. Governor General Sir Bob Dadai today hosted Qatar's representative to PNG at Government House. His Excellency Ahmed bin Jassim Mohammed Ali Hamar was recently appointed as Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the State of Qatar to Papua New Guinea and is the first diplomatic representative of Qatar to PNG. The ambassador today presented his credentials to Sir Bob Dadai at Government House. In welcoming Ambassador Al-Hamar, Sir Bob encouraged the ambassador to encourage bilateral relations between both countries in the areas of development. Ambassador Ahmed bin Jassim Mohammed Ali Al-Hamar is based in Jakarta. Still at Government House, Justice Nicholas Miviri has been sworn in today as an acting judge of the National and Supreme Court for a period of 12 months. This is his second term as an acting judge of the country's high courts. His appointment brings the number of serving judges to 43. This is Justice Nicholas Miviri's second term as an acting judge of the country's high courts, after being appointed for a 12-month term in 2017. Justice Miviri swore his oath of office before Governor General Sir Bob Dadai. According to Chief Justice Sir Salamo Injia, Justice Miviri's performance during his first term as an acting judge has been exemplary, with the Judicial Appointments Committee reappointing him for another 12-month term.
And he was appointed 12 months ago as an acting judge of the National Court, and he was based out of Kimbe as the second resident judge for West New Britain. His term as an acting judge expired in January of this year, and the Judicial Legal Service Commission decided to extend his acting appointment by another 12 months.
By law, this will be Justice Miviri's final term as an acting judge of the High Courts.
Under the Constitution, an acting judge holds office for an initial term of 12 months, and it can be only extended once. So this is Justice Miviri's second term as an acting judge.
Justice Miviri's appointment as an acting judge brings the number of serving judges on the High Courts to 43. Says Salamo has also hinted at 2 more appointments to the country's high courts later this year. This follows the recent resignation of senior judge Justice Bernard Sakora, as well as the impending retirement of another senior judge later this year.
We are also expecting another vacancy to arise in September of this year with the retirement of one of our non-citizen judges. And the judiciary is hoping that we will make 2 new judicial appointments this year to fill in the vacancy left by the judge that's resigned and the impending vacancy that will arise when this particular judge retires around September.
Currently, the budgetary ceiling allows for a maximum of 42 judges to serve in the country's high courts. This figure does not include the acting judges. However, the Chief Justice is of the view that with the current workloads, this ceiling should be increased in the coming years so that justice can be dispensed efficiently.
Is a number in the vicinity of between 60 to 80 judges. Currently, we are halfway there, and hopefully in the next few years or coming years, the government will be asked to increase the number of ceiling of judges to between 60 to 80 judges.
NASFund has announced changes to its board of directors. NASFund chairman Olala Tokome today announced the appointment of Leon Baskins and Kepas Wali to the board of directors of NASFund. Both directors commenced their terms on the 1st of January. According to Mr. Tokome, both Mr. Baskins and Mr. Wali bring a wealth of experience to the board. Mr. Baskins has been in the superannuation industry as a senior executive and director for over 20 years and brings considerable experience with him to the board. He is currently General Manager Stakeholder Engagement for Oil Search Limited. Mr. Wali has also held various senior executive and board positions in both the public and private sector and is currently the Country Manager, Executive Manager, Corporate Affairs for Harmony Gold. Mr. Tokome welcomed both directors on behalf of the board and management of NASFund and said he looked forward to the contributions to the board and members of NASFund as a whole. PNG Power says they are working to restore power in earthquake-affected areas. PNG Power supply into Mendi, Yalibu and Tari were affected following the 7.5 magnitude earthquake. 95% of power into Yalibu district has been restored, and PNG Power Acting Managing Director Caroline Blacklock says they have mobilized teams to have power restored in Mendi. Meanwhile, the Tari generator will be recalibrated before it is restarted, and there will be work carried out on the power station infrastructure. Blacklock says they hope to have it restored so essential services like the Tari Hospital can have power again, and has thanked the Australian government for assistance in the restoration work of PNG Power. To Morobe Province now, and the suspended city manager for Lae City Council office, Roy Kamen, was formally reinstated by the Morobe Provincial Administration. Mr. Kamen was suspended from office by Morobe Provincial Administration in September last year, following reports raised by the public concerning the management of Lae City Council. Kamen's reinstatement was effective of Thursday last week. He was directed by the Morobe Provincial Administration to resume office and attend to his duties.
The acting city manager and chief executive officer for Lae District, Robin Callistus, formally handed over the title as city manager to Roy Kamen today at the Lae District office. Kamen resumed duties last week Thursday following a national court order. He was suspended from office by the Morobe Provincial Administration on the 17th of September last year. The national court order of 13 February 2018 granted Kamen leave to apply for judicial review.
I think this is what Roy you wanted, as per the court, whatever, the order or whatever, which we didn't receive until very late. Although administrator was the the defendant, it didn't. We didn't receive it. We received it too. So this is it. This is what you wanted. So we hand over the office to you, and anything else will address that and issues as we move.
Although I was suspended, I took this matter to court because I felt that there was a breach of my contract, and the normal process of disciplining officers were not followed as per my contract.
Roy Kamen was suspended after an audit at the Lae City Council office by staff from the provincial and local level government office in Port Moresby. These came after the member for Lae, John Rosso, received reports from members of the public and some business houses concerning the management of the City Council office. Kamen agreed to step aside and allow the audit to proceed.
I'd like to uphold our judiciary system. They have gone through all the things and they've seen that there's some mistakes made. That's why they've granted the leave for judicial review and they've given orders. So
Kamen said the administration of Lae City Council office will continue to work closely with Lae District and the Morbe provincial government to ensure services are delivered to the people. Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Lae.
You're with Tuesday's News. Don't go away. We'll have more after these messages. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. The Madang Provincial Executive Council held an urgent meeting this morning to get the provincial administration running without any hiccups. Deputy Governor Rama Marisa says the meeting was held as per the Waigani National Court order's decision on the recount as well as the suspension of the administration. Marisa says these two suspensions has prompted them to call for a meeting to get what he describes as getting the house in order. He says once this is in place, they will be lobbying to get an acting governor in place whilst waiting for the results of the recount. EMTV News in Madang was yet to get a response from Madang Governor Peter Yama.
Government and minister in place. So meeting now long me bless him. Administration come back long situation Loran so administration must run it na next step me black try my lobby long makima acting governor bless province. So meeting in me base like.
Market competition policies are vital for APEC economies, including Papua New Guinea. This was highlighted during the senior official meeting on competition policy and law group. The meeting paved a way forward for Papua New Guinea to make markets competitive. PNG Independent Consumer and Competition Commission Delegate Emmanuel Aru said the meeting exposed them to the experiences and expertise that all different economies have through the competition regulations in each country. Turning overseas now, Republicans have raised concern about the U.S. president's plan to impose trade tariffs on steel and aluminium products. They have not ruled out taking action in Congress, fearing the move could spark a civil war. But Donald Trump pushed back during the White House meeting with Israeli Prime Minister.
While Donald Trump is making enemies at home and abroad, today he welcomed a friend. During his meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Mr Trump didn't rule out travelling to Jerusalem in May for the controversial opening of the US Embassy, a project he admits is a rush job being done on the cheap.
We're not going to spend $1 billion, and we're actually doing it for about $250,000. So check that out. Now it's temporary, but it'll be very nice.
From one controversy to another, Mr Trump is standing firm on his plan to impose steep tariffs on steel and aluminium imports.
No, we're not backing down.
Earlier on Twitter, he hinted there is room to move on tariffs for two of America's biggest trading partners, Canada and Mexico, if they can strike a fair deal in the renegotiation of the North American Free Trade Agreement.
If I do make a deal which is fair to the workers and to the American people, that would be, I would imagine, one of the points that we'll negotiate. It will be tariffs on steel for Canada and for Mexico. So we'll see what happens. But right now, 100%, but it could be a part of NAFTA.
The tariff announcement threatened to make this week's delicate NAFTA talks even more difficult, with the US urging Canada and Mexico to move fast to avoid the deal being scrapped altogether.
As President Trump has said, we hope for a successful completion of these talks, and we would prefer a three-way tripartite agreement. If that proves impossible, we are prepared to move on a bilateral basis.
It's still not clear if any exemptions to the tariffs would apply to Australia. That's despite Malcolm Turnbull getting assurance from Mr Trump last year at the G20 meeting that would be the case. Mr Trump is facing growing pressure from within his own party to drop the tariffs as fears grow over a possible trade war.
The president, I think, is very confident that if that's where we ended up, we certainly would win. But that's not the goal. The goal is to get free, fair and reciprocal trade and hope that other countries will join in.
Sources say Republicans haven't ruled out taking action in Congress to stop the tariffs from being imposed. It's not clear whether that's a threat to try to stop Mr Trump signing off on them later this week or if it's something they're willing to act on. Either way, picking a fight with the president is a bold move, especially one that doesn't hesitate to fight back.
A former Russian spy is fighting for his life in the UK after a suspected poisoning. He was a double agent who worked for Britain, passing on Russian state secrets. He was caught but later handed over to the UK in a spy swap in 2010.
Taken by forensic officers in Salisbury, England. Not your average high drama spy capital, sifting piece by piece through a rubbish bin searching for traces of deadly poison. These photos were taken at the park where two people were found unconscious on a bench, a woman in her 30s and a 66-year-old man, Sergei Skripal, a former Russian spy.
There was a couple, an older guy and a younger girl. She was sort of leant in on him. It looked like she'd passed out, maybe. He was doing some strange hand movements, looking up to the sky. I felt anxious. I felt like I should step in. But to be honest, they looked so out of it that I thought even if I did step in, I wasn't sure how I could help.
A major incident was declared and a local restaurant closed as a precaution. All signs pointing to poison.
The pair, who we believe are known to each other, did not have any visible injuries and were taken to Salisbury District Hospital. They are currently being treated for suspected exposure to an unknown substance. Both are currently in a critical condition in intensive care.
Skripal was arrested in 2004 in Russia and convicted of treason, sentenced to 13 years for exposing state secrets. In 2010, as part of a high-profile prisoner swap in Vienna, he was given refuge in the UK. One of 4 spies exchanged for 10 Russian agents, including the notorious Russian-born Brit Anna Chapman.
This has not been declared as a counter-terrorism incident, and we would urge people not to speculate. However, I must emphasise that we retain an open mind and that we continue to review this position.
It wouldn't be the first time a former Russian spy was poisoned in the UK. In 2006, Alexander Litvinenko was killed by radioactive poison after drinking tainted tea. A British inquiry found it was likely on Russian President Vladimir Putin's orders. Now another former Russian spy, another potential poisoning. Could this be yet another Russian attack on British soil?
Men interrupt women and they say it happens all the time on their flights. Now, Qantas is changing the way their staff talk to passengers.
Celebrates national identity, especially at New Zealand's expense. But Qantas's embrace of identity politics has annoyed newspaper columnist Miranda Devine.
These people are demanding that we do a sort of a verbal curtsy to them to show them that they're the morally superior person.
On board, the banned items now include words. Staff have been told to avoid man-terruptions. That's when men interrupt when women are speaking. And to refrain from using gendered terms. Traditional labels like husband and wife will be replaced with partner or spouse instead. Groups of people aren't guys, try team or folks. There'll be no use of darling, honey or love, and humanity is favoured over mankind.
We're going to celebrate diversity, inclusiveness by making us all into Borgs, something out of Star Trek where everyone thinks and looks the same.
Australia's national carrier is also concerned about the nation's past. Staff warned not to refer to settlement, but colonisation or invasion instead. The country's origins are painful for Aboriginal people, but at least one leader thinks Qantas has it wrong.
I'm an Aboriginal person, I've got Irish heritage and that, so I'm not too fond of the POMs. I don't think it's appropriate. I think common sense needs to come into the play.
The new guidelines for Qantas staff are designed to make the airline more inclusive. Written with the help of the Diversity Council, who say criticism misses the mark.
We're not in the business of telling people what to say and how to say it, but to help them think about the impact that words can have.
But whether the change is overdue or overbearing, Qantas hasn't followed its own advice. Its most exclusive membership is called the Chairman's Lounge, a title it says is here to stay.
The morning after the night before, there is definitely one Oscar party-goer who is feeling a hangover today. 47-year-old Terry Bryan was arrested after stealing an Oscar at an after-party.
Meet Terry. Terry may or may not have had a few too many beersies. But one thing we do know for sure, because he live-streamed himself doing it, is that he nicked off with an Oscar. And not just any old Oscar, this woman's Oscar. One she earned not just for her role in 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri, but for her entire career of being awesome.
So I'm hyperventilating a little bit. If I fall over, pick me up because I've got some things to say.
She certainly did. It was the speech of the night, likely of the entire awards season's embracing of the Me Too movement.
If I may be so honored to have all the female nominees in every category stand with me in this room tonight. The actors, Meryl, if you do it, everybody else will, come on. The filmmakers, the producers, the directors, the writers, the cinematographer, the composers, the songwriters, the designers. Come on.
And it was round about here that, in fairness to Terry, we see that McDormand wasn't exactly of a mind to keep tabs on her new man.
And now I want to get some perspective.
Oscar went from the floor to the party to the upside down before even more stranger things started happening at the governor's ball.
This is mine. We got it tonight, baby.
Terry, bless him, seems to have a rather checkered history of stealing awards for Instagram fame. Previously, though, that stretched to just holding them. This time, he hoofed it out the door before a quick-witted photographer hauled him up. LA police have since confirmed the 47-year-old was arrested on suspicion of grand theft Oscar and released on bail. A spokesperson for Camp Francis confirmed that after a brief time apart last night, Francis and her Oscar were happily reunited.
Here with National EMTV News, Trukai Sports is up next. We'll be back with the details. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with cricket, and the Hebo PNG Barramundis took on the United Arab Emirates 2 days ago in their opening match of the ICC Cricket World Cup qualifiers in Zimbabwe. That match slipped from the Barras' hold by 56 runs.
Despite winning the toss, the Barras opted not to bat first, and that decision backfired on them when the United Arab Emirates top order sped past 80 runs in 18 overs. By the time they reached their allotted 50, they already recorded 221 runs. The second inning was rain-affected, with the Barras having 22 runs deducted from their chase, and the bad luck seemed to continue as their reply was not as strong as it could have been. They were bowled out at a disappointing 113 in the 25th over. The Barras took on Ireland late this afternoon PNG time in their second attempt. Dinero Strico, National EMTV Sports.
To Rugby League now, and the SPPNG Hunters team have named their Round 1 clash team against the Ipswich Jets. The Hunters play their first match at the National Football Stadium this Sunday.
Star growth Amin has been sidelined for this weekend's clash due to an injury. This will see Adex Herrera be moved to the fullback position. Second rower Nixon Put has been named to play in the centre position. Hukula says the position is not new to him as he's played as a centre before.
He hasn't played yet this year at centre because this is our first game, but he has played at centre before. It's one of those positions which second row centres which they make adjustments within that area, so it's not really a big change for him. It's just a number change, that's all really.
Captain Asebos has also been named to start after recovering from his hand injury.
Ase's been on and off with his injury in his wrist, so we've got clearance from the doctor there, and we've opted to go with Ase to see if our combinations can stick again for this year.
John Andy will make his debut this weekend after being named in the front row.
I think John's earned his call-up. He's a dynamic player. He brings a lot of aggression. In the same caliber as Adam, he's very dynamic. He can play versatile also, playing several different positions.
Some other new players in the likes of Charlie Simon, Mackenzie Ye, Edene Gebi and Dilbert Isaac have been named on the extended 20-man bench. Coach Michael Marum will name his final 18-man squad on Saturday before their match on Sunday. Elijah Levet, National, MTV Sports.
To football now, and the Lae City Dwellers will face Team Wellington in New Zealand in the quarterfinals of the OFC Champions League next month. The knockout stage of the OFC Champions League has been drawn, and 4 enticing encounters await when the competition returns in April.
The official draw was conducted at the OFC Academy in Auckland, New Zealand, early this morning. The draw revealed the quarterfinals, semi-finals matchup and finals for this year's edition of the Oceania's premier international club competition. OFC Competitions Director Chris Camp said following 4 entertaining groups, the knockout stage of the OFC Champions League 2018 is also set to delight fans. Solomon Warriors, runners-up in Group B, will again find themselves on the road as they also travel to New Zealand to play reigning champions Auckland City FC at Kiwitea Street. Team Wellington, who topped Group D in Honiara at the weekend, will welcome Papua New Guinea club champions and Group A runners-up Lae City Dwellers to Wellington. AS Dragon, who won the group on home soil, will once again enjoy home advantage when they take on Fiji club Lautoka FC, who finished behind Auckland City in Group C. Finally, Group A winners and the only competition debutants still in action, Nalkutan FC will welcome Group D runners-up Marist FC, who will be on the road for the first time after hosting their group at Lawson Tama Stadium. Shane Saroya, National, MTV Sports.
And don't go away, we'll have more of Trukai Sports after these messages.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. PNG boxer Thaddeus Katua is now in training for the 2017 Commonwealth Games. The Pacific Games gold medalist has come a long way since his discovery at the 2012 PNG Games. According to PNG Boxing Union President John Avira, Katua's journey has been one that has been rewarding.
So we identified him at that PNG Games in Kokopo, East New Britain. Immediately, we just got him on board based on his performance. It was just amazing. He went through the elimination quarterfinals into the finals with the resounding results. And we thought he was a special talent. And,
Speaking to MTV Sports, PNG Boxing Union President John Abira reflected on Thaddeus Katua's journey since his discovery at the 2012 PNG Games. At the 2015 Pacific Games, Katua made history, winning gold through a knockout.
The Pacific Games, he actually created history in Pacific Games. In Pacific Game history, we went back to the results of the previous games. There was no boxer in the Pacific Games that went through the all elimination process by knockout, and then he won the gold medal by knockout as well, stopping all the boxers along the track. That is an exceptional effort from a young guy who lives in the village, and we thought, he's something special.
Following his success at the Pacific Games, Katua was selected to attend the Youth Commonwealth Games in Samoa.
Thaddeus Katua won gold medal the youth Commonwealth Games, who is now ranked #1 in the Commonwealth at the youth level.
The Commonwealth Youth Games put him in a good stead as he prepared for the 2016 Olympics in Rio.
He didn't disappoint us in his performance at the Olympic Games. I think the world has already knew who this guy is, and his performance was above our expectation. In our assessment and viewing the match on television, we thought Tadius won. And everybody around at the stadium also thought that Tadius won. But that's something that we need to put behind.
Given his gradual journey through boxing, Katua has now turned his attention to this year's Commonwealth Games. He is currently training in the Philippines. Following the Commonwealth Games, he will be looked upon to represent the country again at the 2019 Pacific Games, as well as a possible shot at Olympic glory at the 2020 Olympic Games.
In 2019, he will be participating at the Pacific Games, and those are a breed of a crop of co-boxers that we are looking at. And then we have the big one that he's targeting, and that's the big target. That's 2020 Olympic Games. I think he'll be more matured now. Mentally, he'll be, ready and providing he stays healthy from now 2019 and 2020.
Godwin Eki, National, MTV Sports.
And just a slight correction there, I mentioned the Commonwealth Games were in 2017. They are in fact this year, 2018. Moving along to international cricket, and the South African cricketer who caused a row with Australian cricketers will learn tonight whether action will be taken against them after an ugly off-field spatter overshadowed their match.
118-run victory in the first test. Both countries have conflicting views about what was said.
As far as I'm aware, we didn't get personal towards Quinton, but look, I think what he said got a little bit personal towards Davey, and as we saw, it certainly provoked an emotional response.
Meanwhile, Nathan Lyon has been fined 15% of his match fee and 1 demerit point added to his record after being charged for dropping the ball next to AB de Villiers on day 4.
And that's it for Trukai Sports. We go for a break now. When we come back, the weather details for the next 24 hours.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
A look at the weather forecast over the next 24 hours in the southern region. Showers expected in Alta, some rain and showers as well. For the rest of the region, Port Moresby, Daru, Kerma and Popondetta. To the Momasa region, rain expected in Vanimo, rain and showers for Lae, Wau, Madang and Wewak. To the New Guinea Islands region, rain and showers expected in Lorengau and Kimbe, showers and thunderstorms for Kaviang, Kokopo and Rabaul. A few showers expected in Buka. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, all these major centers can expect rain and showers over the next 24 hours. A look at the forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours, but first there is a strong wind warning current for all coastal waters of southern PNG-Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru, and also Bogia to Wewak, Aitape, Vanimo and the northern PNG-Indonesian border, including Manus and its western group of islands and Bismarck Sea. Waters of southern PNG-Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru, seas 2 to 3 meters. Waters east of Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerma, Yule Island, Hood Point to Samurai Island, seas 1.5 to 2 meters. Waters of eastern and western Wind Bay Islands, and with waters of Samurai Island to Cape Vogel to Finchafen, and with waters of New Britain to New Island and Bougainville, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of Finchafen to Vitias and Dampier Strait to Siasi Island to Long Island to Madang, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters north of Madang to Bogia, Wewak, Aitape, Vanimo and northern PNG-Indonesian border, seas 2.5 to 3 meters. And waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas 2 to 2.5 meters. And a look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas. Coral Sea, seas light to moderate with northwesterly winds at 10 to 20 knots. Solomon Sea, seas light with southwesterly winds at 10 to 15 knots. Bismarck Sea, seas moderate to rather rough with northwesterly winds at 20 to 25 knots. And the Pacific Ocean, seas light with west to northwesterly winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And before we go, a recap of our top stories this evening. The death toll rises to 75 confirmed dead from the recent earthquake, and locals urge the government to find the cause of the earthquake. China donates 1.3 million kina to help disaster victims. That's the way it is this Tuesday, the 6th of March 2018. On behalf of the EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.